What's up, everybody? It's Wes, Hank, and Andy. Welcome.
What is up?
The road was fraught with several ups, downs, detours, roadblocks.
Just like the American election.
Oh, yeah.
So many ups and downs.
In developing news.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have a guy.
This one might still continue to develop, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, for sure it will. Sure it will.
And in Canada, we have a guy who used to run a daycare running against Millhouse.
Wow, we could just skip the Acolyte and talk U.S. politics all night. No, let's not do that.
No.
8 weeks ago, we set out to review what was arguably one of the most hotly anticipated live-action Star Wars series of recent
memory.
Yes. Very quickly, we discovered that this might not be what we hoped that it might be.
It's not like they advertised the crap out of it. It was just like, surprise, here you go.
I don't think there was any less marketing for this one, to be honest. I recall seeing this stuff as it came out. I just thought it was maybe a little bit closer to release when we
finally got some indication of what it was going to be.
Yeah, very much so.
But even so, like you said, Hank, your headcanon was going crazy. Like, is this going to be a Palpatine origin story or some older Sith Lord or...
Instead, it was the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, a guy who hangs out in caves and stares at naked men.
All right. Totally deserves one of those. Speaking of, let's have one of them.
Bad Star Wars jokes.
I got two tonight because
nice.
I thought, I would need one to redeem the other. Just like our show. We've got Joseph Ricci on YouTube joining us tonight. Hello, Joseph. New to the show, I believe. I don't think we've seen you comment before. Welcome.
Thanks, man. Welcome.
Nice to have you here. Thank you very much. So, for my first bad Star Wars joke, what do you call a Darksider who won't fight?
Oh.
A Pass-a-Sith?
I know this one. A Pass-a-Sith. That's fantastic. I know this one, so I don't want to step on your toes, but I do know this one. It's good.
Andy, that deserves.
That's pretty good.
A Pass-a-Sith. I like that. I like that. No. You call them a Sithy. A Sithy.
Yeah, man.
You want another one?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, here we go. How do you unlock a door on Kashyyyk?
They have doors on Kashyyyk?
It's got to be like a Wook key or something.
With a Wookiee.
Nice. Nice. I just want to let everybody know, I don't know, all two people watching and you guys too. I'm going for a Guinness Book of World Records tonight.
Oh, what are we doing? I'm
going to set the times in a single podcast. One person has ever said the phrase, glad it's over.
Wow. Okay. So on that note, when I sat down to write this week's episode, by the time about midway through the writing process, I said the same thing. I'm glad this is over. And not just because I was getting tired of writing, but because I was tired of the discourse that we've endured, that this one has created.
Oh man.
That's divisive to say the least.
Well, it's the type of thing that could break a whole fandom. Like,
sure.
Like I really hope that people, I don't know, it's such divisive times. People are mad at everything either way all the time about all subjects. And it's kind of difficult. Like I see a lot of memes and Twitter posts and stuff that are like, if Return of the Jedi came out now, people would be losing their minds over this or that. It's kind of the state of the.
I think that there is some truth to that. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Now that the season is over, I will concede wholeheartedly that this is the weakest live action Star Wars we've gotten. There's just no doubt in my mind. And I let me quantify that. Television, live action television.
Sure.
I don't know where this
I miss Ryan Johnson.
You know, talking about Ryan Johnson, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, and it's in the context of this show. Nobody, not even Ryan Johnson and the creatives, set out to make a bad thing.
No,
Nobody's.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And now that it's over, a lot of the things that I had been saying, especially in the back half of the season, where like there's really bold choices and really ambitious story beats that they wanted to tackle, and I really feel that the show suffered from not enough time to flesh any of those things out in a meaningful way. You could see what they were going for, and it just never landed, I think, the way that maybe it was intended to land.
Well, I'm going to say right now, they intended season 2 to happen.
Like,
There's
absolutely. That ending is just it concludes. Yeah, we're doing multiple. It's a multi-season run.
Yeah, we'll see you next season.
Which,
or will we?
Well, now that it's over, I mean, first of all, let me just go around the table. Andy, do you want a second season? Yes or no?
Yes.
Hank, what about you?
No, I'm okay.
I'm right down the middle. I do because I really appreciated the ambitiousness of what they were trying to do, and I think that with the right, I don't want to say direction, but no, I guess there is no. That is the best word. With the right direction, with a little more focus, that they could get there. But if it's going to be another one, a season like this, I'm okay with letting this one fade
quietly
away.
Go away.
It's funny because like when there's questionable writing or character choices or whatever you want to make, pin it on.
Yeah.
And it's in other media like a novel or a video game or a comic. It's way easier for me to just go, okay, whatever. And I guess it's because like even though it's like this multimedia campaign where we're telling the whole story in a lot of different levels, when they throw something this sort of innocuous into live action medium, it's like, I don't know, it's got more of like a stamp of this is real compared to like a comic,
like a
say.
But
maybe that's why I'm like, if this was a comic, I could ignore it better.
Joseph says, with a new showrunner, yes? Question mark.
I mean, maybe.
How about a co-showrunner?
How about we just get Filoni over here?
So I didn't want to say it, but you've dropped the name, so I'm not going to disagree with that. If we could get one of a John or a Dave somehow involved, and you can't say that Dave Filoni is not involved. I mean, as the chief creative officer, he's got.
Yeah, but he's known for his long game.
I know.
I could see him like, I like where you're going with this. Let her get there.
I feel like there's been some unwarranted criticism leveled at Leslie Headland regarding her knowledge of what is and what isn't. And for those reasons, because she's got a Dave Filoni in her pocket and she does have the story group, I do think that her grasp of concepts was there. I just think the presentation, and we talked about this last week, was so subverting, off-putting even. Hank, you had said it, the good guys wear white hats. You want your Jedi to be.
In Star Wars, there's lots of other mediums where I'm like, okay, protagonist villain, and it works. Like, or like anti, like a John Wick that's like this morally gray thing, but he's got some like. So like there's all kinds of medium will accept that. There's amazing villain hero arcs in my Hero Academia. But it just, my Star Wars is like, I don't know, maybe it's that cognitive dissonance where I feel too much of an ownership over it. But I like my Star Wars to be sort of good versus evil, Joseph Campbell myth stuff.
Yeah, you want the classic hero's journey in three acts that Star Wars has up till now mostly been.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Sarah here tonight. Hi, Sarah. Sarah says the Acolyte had such wasted potential. Joseph has strong feelings. Filoni worked on season 1 with Leslie, so no Filoni.
I think he just like said no, they're not Dathomir witches.
No, they're not. Yeah.
And she was like, can we use like, I don't know, Palpatine or something? And he was like, well, you can have Kiadi Mundi.
Yeah.
How about the back of Yoda's head? So I mean, I'm not sure how involved he was. He's big picture involved for sure. But I think a lot
Absolutely,
a lot of this was in the can before that decision to elevate him to that chief creative officer thing was
quite
was
possibly.
done, but
Certainly, the development, the early development would have been like stuff would have been on the table
I
when
don't know.
that was happening.
I don't know if Gilroy would work on this one. It's too forcey. He's kind of like this real world, like what if Star Wars happened in Toronto or New York kind of thing.
Sure. What do we got going on here? Joseph says Favreau's too busy with the Mando movie, which still hasn't started production. Frowny face.
Well, there's lots of people out there that want to crack at it, and rather than giving them a feature film, this is a great way to do stuff. I'm not saying anything against any individual writer on the show. I'm not attacking people's art, but there was a lot of times when we were talking about this is the first time this person has ever wrote anything professionally.
Oh yeah, that did happen quite a bit.
This is the first time this director has ever directed anything like this. This guy makes commercials in Japan or what, so not that that's not art and valid, but like, so when we were excited about The Force Awakens before it ever happened, we were most excited about the fact that it was J.J. Abrams, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I was totally down for that.
When you attach somebody that's got like this some teeth, some back catalog of stuff that you can go, oh wow, that would work. Like I fully thought that the first two Star Trek movies that Abrams did were like,
here's 2009 Star Trek.
Here's what I can do if you give me a Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, really. I mean, you and I got to see Star Trek 2009. We got to see it together.
Yes, sir.
In IMAX, and we both came out. Now that was my second, if not third viewing when we went together, and your first one, and we both came out of that going, "This is the best science fiction movie of the year, and possibly of several years." At that point,
big time.
Talking about directing though, and I want to focus on Kogonada, who got the two flashback episodes, and I was a little bit like, oh, this guy's known for doing essentially film essays or almost documentary stuff, and I see why now that they got him when the whole thing is meant to be essentially a massive character study on the institution versus the individuals within that institution. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's one for Joseph says 2 writers from the writers' room have reported that season 8 was rewritten and refilmed after the show started airing. I have not encountered that. No. Mind you, I haven't gone looking for that either. I try to stay away from as much media as I can up until we do our show. So I will be looking for that after tonight. Did catch some of the stuff from Manny Jacinto though, as the media hype train rolls every week. Did you catch that Manny had said there was a version of the finale that was filmed where they actually kiss? I had said last week, are they trying, in our private chat, are they trying to ship these two? And I got that impression, but he also said in the same interview, this was in Variety, by the way. He said that the holding hands part was Kymir's way of showing that he actually cares, that he's more than just out for his own selfish needs. And it was a way to show, to comfort her, having just had to murder her own father-like figure. I don't know.
Very Sith-like.
Yeah. But again, we all joked. We know that somebody had to bump uglies with Palpatine.
It totally
right. So
it reminded me more. I know they were holding hands, and I thought it was a little weird, but it reminded me of the Luke and Leia end of Empire Strikes Back. So we pull back and see them through the ship window of the medical frigate. It was like oh, I thought it was a callback to that scene to try to like.
Oh, I never even thought of it that way.
This is where we're headed now.
Sure.
Well, if they had run with the kiss, I mean, you could say that Kymir's seduction of her was complete.
Yeah.
It would have made as much sense as the kiss in Rise of Skywalker. I mean,
but I think there's a certain amount of the fandom though that really did want to see that work out, and I mean that wouldn't have bothered me if it did, to be honest. Yeah. So this though, I don't know how I feel about this. And again, that goes back to my personal expectations about what a Jedi should be and what a Sith should be.
Right.
I don't want to see characters who are meant to be evil have something joyful. I don't want them to love.
No, like when Leslie Headland's talking in her interview lately about this episode and her, here's the info dump so that you can make heads or tails of what I tried to write.
Yeah.
She's saying, this is like after OSHA's victory. I was like, what do you mean victory? What are you talking about? You mean OSHA's fall?
Oh yeah.
It's not a victory. That's crazy to me.
The victory over
and that's what I mean
Saul?
by villain protagonist in terms of Star Wars. It's just,
Revenge for killing her mother.
If you're going to do that, I mean, just make it a straight up, okay, we are following the villain, but the villain is still going to be a villain.
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with doing that. I feel like a lot of horror movies, some horror movies get into that where they follow the murderer or the monster.
One of the Hannibal Lecter movies is from his POV, isn't it? I think.
Hannibal, yeah.
Hannibal. It is.
Yeah.
Well, 8 weeks later, here we are. 7 weeks later, because it was a double episode drop. Here we are at the end, and we can all collectively take a deep breath and as we get ready for Skeleton Crew sometime later this year.
Mm-hmm.
Before we can get to Skeleton Crew, though, we do have to get through episode 8. What do we think of it? Episode 8 being called The Acolyte.
Accurate titling.
Accurate.
You got his acolyte. There we go. Show's over.
He got his acolyte.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't self-referential for him.
Maybe
on some level, I think it was, especially with the cameo. But
yeah,
it might have been an attempt to be deep.
We're gonna try really hard on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny that they were hiding that. Remember, for like a day and a half, there was no title or episode description.
No, like as they come out in the
are you getting crafty now, or
at night, the night of the drop.
Finally, a mystery
episode number with nothing there. You might get it the next day,
right?
And then, of course, the episode guides tend to come out, a day or two later. Funny thing, how amazing the episode guides were for the final season of the Bad Batch, and we were getting like super deep nuggets that were really adding stuff to our show. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed with the quality of the episode guides on this one. They just weren't as good. They weren't as insightful as I would have liked them to be.
They still give us some good stuff, but
the character posters were nice.
Yeah,
I did like those, but I didn't find that there was any real deep, like. Cortosis was the coolest.
Cortosis, yeah. Leslie Headland owns like 500,000 Hasbro helmets.
Sorry, I hit the wrong one. Jesus. Gaz is here. What's up, my dudes?
Gaz.
Hello, sir.
Yo.
Welcome to the show.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is one from Joseph, though.
Joseph, who also says, Gaz, hello. Oh, sorry. This one. In refilming, Yoda was added and placed at the end of the episode as a cliffhanger. Oh, Plaguey originally filmed at the end of the episode as a cliffhanger, then replaced in the episode. His original scene also changed from the mountain.
Yeah, I did read that because that's what I was talking about when they said Plagueis at the end would undercut OSHA's victory, and that's when I went off on victory.
Sure, right.
That is exactly what they added.
So Gaz wants to know, was that Plagueis in the cave?
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, she did come out. Yeah, she said cut and dry in an interview afterwards, but sure.
Until we've heard the name spoken in an episode,
I guess
again, you never take anything as being what it is.
Could be Cad Bane.
Sure. I am going out on a limb, and I am saying yes, this is Darth Plagueis. And I'm saying that, yes, indeed, we are on a Baldemnik. I think that just lines up. Joseph says that the original episode 8 runtime was 43 minutes. Refilming was 48 minutes. 5 minutes added was to add Yoda, refilm Plagueis, and to add framing of Soul. And the framing Soul was not in the original script or filming. Interesting. I don't know how they would have gotten around that. I do feel like as a scapegoat, he was kind of the
Yeah,
he was kind of
he was in the position to take
absolutely. Sarah thinks that the Darth Plagueis tease was cruel and frustrating. I wanted to see more of the Sith. I didn't really care about the Osha and May characters.
Yeah, I think twins should be outraged that twins weren't cast to play that
Role. That it was a single.
Well, at least they were cast in the youthful versions.
Mhm.
They did hire twins for
They
the
did hire that.
8-year-olds. I don't like the delivery. So let me preface the show. I do like the show. I don't hate it. I did like it. I did find entertainment value in it. I love the concepts. I love the headiness of what they were trying to do. I will say that the delivery on practically every level fell short of what I thought it could have been.
Mhm.
There is something to invest in the idea of a split character. That's somebody who is one consciousness split into two bodies. And that, for me, part of what I enjoyed about this episode, at the very beginning of the episode, in fact, is Osha's vision and how short-sighted she is, that she can't see that it's her own fate. And I thought, oh, that's cool. But that's where the lines blur between, are we really two people, or are we just, both of them are sort of weaving in and out of each other at the same time. So it's kind of an interesting idea. Yes, we just mentioned that in episode 8, Leslie wanted Chimera to kiss Osha. Chimera actor said no and compromised to do her. That's not what it said. I read that article. That is not what he said. He said that he felt that it wasn't earned. And in fact, that they did film the kiss scene, but it went to the cutting room floor, because they hadn't earned that yet between those two characters.
Yeah, like they were just getting started on their master apprentice thing.
Well, I mean, the whole him bathing in the pond and like, unless you're coming in, I'd like to put my clothes on.
Yeah,
it was kind of a little bit of a on the nose, right? Gaz says that was the Sith dude's master. Yes, for me, this show was so good and bad. Some of it was pretty predictable, but the Sith guy was completely badass. At the end of this, I said, "Give me more, please." Yeah, I'm all for another season, but it's gotta be carefully,
delicately
handled.
handled.
Yes, absolutely.
You can say it has to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
And then going back to Joseph, episode 8 title was Doom, but in refilming it was changed to The Acolyte.
I did see that somewhere, but they also had an alternate title for episode 7 that I saw too.
I had seen an early review of the episode from a reputable source that had been calling it Original Sins.
Nice.
Original
that would
Sins.
fit.
Yeah,
especially with Saul's position and everything.
And absolutely, yeah.
But I could see renaming it from Doom though, just because
well,
at the end of the series, Doom is what you leave it with, and all the negative response.
Caleb Doom,
just
Caleb Doom,
Dr. Doom. There's too many Dooms.
All right, I'm going to switch things up here so we can get into the actual.
Yeah.
Itself.
I forgot we were.
We're here to actually talk about it.
And then on Ewoks.
Yeah.
Stick around. As we've just learned this week, Marvel Comics is going back to Endor, and coincidentally, so are we.
Nice.
This one is Star Wars The Acolyte. It's episode number 8. It is called The Acolyte. It originally aired on Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. This one, written by Jason McAuliffe and directed by Janelle M. Culpepper. Our runtime is an advertised 49 minutes or an actual 44 minutes and 37 seconds without recap, titles, or credits. Our episode synopsis this week reads, confrontation and revelation await.
Accurate.
Oh, yeah. Checking in with Gaz here for a second. He says, if they continue, it should be more Sith, less Jedi. Not that I don't want Jedi in it, but they should be secondary storylines.
Yeah, especially when they said this was going to be a Sith-style
Sith-centric. Yeah. We all thought that.
And a mystery for the ages. Let's not forget that quote.
I think that's a direct quote, too.
Yeah.
All right. As I said earlier, I am calling this Baldemnic. So when I say that in my narrative, nobody said it. I'm saying that. That's all me.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
That's not a huge leap. If you know, like, yeah, like this pretty much canonizes that novel, right?
Certainly parts of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is also if this is Baldemnik, then this is the place where Palpatine kills him in his sleep.
That's right.
The episode opens inside Chimere's mining cave domicile on the planet that we presume to be Baldemnik. Osha breathes heavily, almost hyperventilating with the cortosis helmet on her head. Chimere enters the room and he chuckles at the sight of her sitting there wearing it. But then Osha's head forcibly cocks to one side and she begins to convulse. Chimere rushes to help Osha, but is stopped just short and drops to his knees. His eyes turn pitch black, and we are suddenly inside his mind. It is a darkened, monotone version of the cave, very similar to how Torben perceived the courtyard on Brendok. And in his mind, his eyes remain normal, and he struggles to reach for the cortosis helmet. Is Osha doing this subconsciously?
Or is maybe a Sith Lord over there going, nee, 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 nee?
I don't know. I kind of got the impression that this was relates to his, if they find out how powerful you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if she gets locked in her own mind, right? She's got on a loop, can't get out, starts panicking.
Yeah. Joseph, good point. Chimere's name is a short form of Vernestra's Padawan from Legends. It's not Legends. It is canon.
Now, yeah.
It is canon. Yeah.
The High Republic books.
High Republic.
Recent.
That is true. So we may be getting that if there is a second season. Also, the Kenteros, that is the name of her starship.
Yes,
She
named
it after him. That's right. Yeah. And can we get a Sith Jawa to take out the stupid capybara dude, please?
Now,
now no love for Basil.
Now that's writing. That's writing.
He's not a capybara. He's a beaver otter.
Beaver otter.
That's what they said. He's a beaver otter.
Right.
Tynan is what we're calling him. Yeah. All right. Right. Cortosis helmet. Now, I brought this up last week, and we didn't get a clear answer. We never got a clear answer. Last episode, was that, I don't think Saul told May. Not based on what he says to her in this episode, I don't think he told her the story.
No.
So I'm left to go back. Was that part of the vision that Osha had? Did she have a vision? Is that what last episode was?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because if it's not one of those, it was just purely exposition for
us.
For the audience.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
You could have mailed everybody a flyer and saved yourself $80 million on those 2 episodes.
Seriously, it's a capybara.
Short-nosed capybara.
Yeah. Okay, well, flashback to the real world where Chimere's eyes are still black, but his hands inch closer and closer to the helmet until finally he's able to lift it off of her head. With a terrified look in her eyes, Osha lets out a scream as she tries to catch her breath. Osha tells Chimere that she had a vision of May with an outstretched hand. She was killing Sol. Chimere asks, where is she? But Osha doesn't answer. Instead, she continues to recount the vision. She says that May held a lightsaber in her hand, but she doesn't use it. This piques Chimere's interest, and he tells Osha her vision is one of the future. Cool little plot, little detail here. The reflection of the red blade in her eyes when the helmet comes off. It's there,
and you miss it.
It fades out. I thought it was very cool. It was a nice touch.
I missed that.
Yeah. We can clearly see the reflection in Osha's eyes here. Now, with Osha and May being the same person, this is what I said. I believe that the vision is flawed in that she cannot see herself in it. Alternatively, the vision really is May. And then by the time we get to that point in the episode, Osha has made a conscious choice to take her place, thereby saving her sister from the life as a Sith, thereby turning this story into a classic Star Wars redemption arc. What do we think of that?
I don't know. I look at it like because she is literally dressed as May.
Yep.
And because the tattoo's not visible, maybe she just, took it at, okay, yeah, it's May. Don't care. It couldn't be me.
I guess so. Yeah, that's possible.
Like, I could never do that to Saul until she finds out what he did. Then it's a whole new ballgame.
Yes, really, I can.
Yeah.
I'll cry about it for a second.
I guess for me, everything else is so surface that I never really give it enough credit to be like that. So I haven't once looked at any of these episodes that deeply.
Okay. I just thought
maybe unfortunately, but
I thought it was worth asking. And then again, with that sort of, the lines are blurred with like, who's in the driver's seat when this is happening? Is this OSHA? Is this May? They're the same person. Does May have a?
I would think it's the Force in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like at this point, she still hasn't heard all May has to tell her yet, right? Like she's still, Soul's gonna come. He's a good dude. Soul's my buddy.
Yeah,
and May wants to kill him.
No, you're right.
So in her mind at this point, there's no other option other than May killing Soul.
Yeah. Oh, Gaz, great point. It is is it a redemption? If your mind is erased, can anyone say Revan? We're gonna come back to that. Kymir seems satisfied at the idea that May can kill without a weapon, and he gets up to leave. But he stops when OSHA blurts out that the future isn't fixed. Getting up from the stool, she says, I can still stop her. While facing her, Kymir asks with what ship. He says he's taking his, but OSHA asks him, and where is it exactly you think you're going? He doesn't know, but she does. So Kymir says, well, we'll go together and see who gets to her first. The Jedi Poland shuttle sits in orbit over Brendok. On board, May is awake and still restrained to the medical berth, while Soul sits on the deck just a few feet away. May asks why Brendok, and Soul tells her that there is a vergence in the Force here, and with both her and OSHA alive, he can prove it. He just needs to contact Master Vernestra to have more Jedi meet them here. At the same time, May quietly slips Pip from his holster, and she sets him to the task of releasing the restraints. May asks, what is it that he thinks he can prove? If murdering their mother was justified? Getting up from the deck, Soul says that what happened to May and the Coven that night was an accident. Outraged at the notion, she asks, why then did he lie to OSHA and blame it all on her? Her being May. Soul wheels around and he points his finger at her. You started that fire. You locked everyone in there. As Pip works a small tool on her binders, May shouts at Soul, because the Jedi invaded our home. 3 times?
Yeah.
3 times.
3 times? Yeah.
Yeah. As Jedi do. I mean,
that's right. Yeah. We forcibly enter wherever we want to go.
Right. We don't need no stinking warrant.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone in there died because of the 4 of you. Anguished, Soul says that they were right to intervene, and that his biggest regret was that he was not able to save both her and OSHA. Lowering his voice, he tells May that she and OSHA are not twins, that they aren't even sisters. And just as he's about to tell her that they are in fact a split consciousness, Pip gets the restraints unlocked and May bolts upright, driving the little droid into Saul's chest. While Pip emits an electrical charge, stunning Saul to his knees, then May bolts down the accessway, completely unaware of the truth.
Pip is also a taser.
Yeah.
We waited all this time for him to finally spill his guts, and she runs out.
Lowering his... sorry, I just read that, didn't I?
Yep.
As May pauses for... oh my gosh. As May pauses for a moment to decide which way to go, Basil appears in the accessway behind her. Now, Soul is on his feet and he gives chase. At the end of the accessway, May comes to a dead end marked by an airlock. She looks around for an alternate escape route, but there isn't one. Suddenly, Pip's photoreceptors flash blue, and a nearby control panel chimes as it lights up, also blue. It turns out that the Poland shuttle carries a single-seat escape ship. Soul darts down the hallway, paying no attention to Basil standing there. At the end of the accessway, May activates the airlock controls, and she seals herself on the other side before Soul can reach her. See you in hell, Jedi. Soul tries the controls to the door, but they're frozen. Meanwhile, May hops into the cramped cockpit and drops Pip into a dash-mounted slot. It's almost like plugging in your iPod.
It is exclusive to this ship.
Yeah. But again, at least that design language is consistent. That we made a comment about the dock.
Yeah, how
the Pip dock around
there was
ship.
like 4 different ones, and then one specifically for him.
These Pip droids must be integral to ship operations at this time in galactic history.
Yeah, before Astrobex.
Yeah.
Proto-astromech. That ship, now that I'm looking at it from that angle, looks like Rick Hunter's stunt plane.
It
From
kind of
Robotech.
does. Yeah, the
man.
fan jet.
Yeah.
The fan jet.
Yeah.
Well, the door is locked. Meanwhile, May hops into the cramped cockpit and she drops Pip into a dash-mounted slot. She quickly dons a flight helmet before throwing a lever to detach the small escape craft from its larger parent. As the ship rockets away, we cut to the title card. Firebird helmet when she flies the ship. I didn't actually pay any attention to any markings on the helmet.
It's like almost a red one.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's design elements that sort of suggest Alliance helmet.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird because that symbol is
Not
even a thing yet
it's
until
created in Rebels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I
a weird.
It's more like the Jedi Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I guess
Would that be relevant at that time? I guess.
I thought
Because they're all wearing the symbol on their belt, right?
The Jedi symbol at this point is essentially a stylized lightsaber with
The two wings.
a wing. Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. As a ship nerd, I can't not talk about this because it just irks me so badly that the Poland shuttle. This is the hero ship. This is the hero ship of the Jedi for the entire series. So it supported at one time 4 Jedi on a months long mission.
Uh-huh.
At one time, it also housed and transported the Jedi posse. That's 10 more Jedi that all fought Chimera when we were introduced to him. And it has a single seat escape craft.
Clown car class frigate.
It's awful.
Are we sure we don't just stack them up in the back there?
I don't believe that there's a bunch of them. I don't believe that for a second. I believe that's the camera right at the airlock.
Wait,
To
it's
give you that
Leslie Headland. Russian doll ships. There's a smaller one inside that
smaller
for Basil, and then
and just to illustrate this, I mean, I did a little bit of homework. I went and I got this image. Now, granted, this is a prequel era, Clone Wars era escape pod.
I love when you do this. I really do.
I got this escape pod image, and we have the image associated with it with Master Plo Koon and what, 3 dudes, at least 3 guys sitting in there.
Yeah, when they were stranded out in the middle of nowhere.
If you take the escape pod and you turn it 90 degrees so that the windows line up, you can get a sense of actual scale. And I was able to scale it roughly to how big it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from there, I took both of those and I scaled them down relative to Master Plo, who I approximated how big his head. You can sort of make out that, she's in the cockpit. And I shrunk it down.
Close.
That's what I mean. Like, there's our relative scale to an escape pod that can take at least 4 people.
Yeah.
But no, we needed a single seat escape craft, which to me looks like a fighter.
I would totally accept that if it were on the nose of the craft and then
absolutely
or something like that.
Yeah. More akin to a fighter, even a racer, like the stuff we see in for those of you who have seen Star Wars Resistance.
Right.
But definitely looks like a pleasure craft.
So what if it actually is? What if it's like the Ghost?
Oh, I don't know.
Where it's just an extra little craft that you can take off. And
I don't know.
The
Ghost is a bit of a different story though, because while the Phantom 1 we assume was integral to it, Phantom 2 is not. It's a shithapede.
It's a
shithapede shuttle. So that's
I always got the impression that was just an addendum. Like it was like magnetically docked to the ship in the event of like.
Yeah, I don't know. Samson Ironman's here, coming in on YouTube. Hello, Samson. Nice to see you. Says, I don't know. I don't know if you can pilot an escape pod. No, you cannot pilot an escape pod. Just enough to make planetfall. Are you sure it's not a one-man fighter? Again, possibly a fighter, but again,
she flies it like a fighter.
Yeah.
I know that the descriptive audio is not infallible. We've found many cases where that's wrong, but that is how it's referred to. And in fact, May actually blurts out when the lights on the panel light up, she's like, escape ship.
Oh,
this is where
May herself calls it an escape ship. So I don't know what to make of this other than it's very frustrating that a ship that's capable of supporting at least 14 people for a period of time has a single seat escape craft.
So the pull on is more like the Titanic. It doesn't have
Yeah.
enough lifeboats.
No. All right, you guys hold on to the wings.
Yeah, the lifeboat
There's
there
your
is called
yes.
Plot Hole 1.
What's that? What's Gaz saying? Oh, Gaz says that's no escape pod. It's a modified Farscape 1. Nice.
The Plot Hole 1.
Nice. Yeah. So as a lifeboat, this thing is absolutely impractical. Samson says, I think it's a fighter. You may be right.
It kind of feels like a fighter.
We don't see it fire any weapons.
Plus,
so
Jedi can ride the outside of it in space, right?
They sure
Like-
can. They sure can. At least in visions, they can anyway.
Mm-hmm.
While rushing back to the cockpit of the Poland shuttle, Sol arrives just in time to see May in the escape craft streaking towards the ringed moon of Brendok. We never get names for the moons. Presumably, we could call one Yin and the other one Yang if you wanted to.
Sure.
Sol throttles the shuttle forward to give chase, but May has a decent lead on him, and she dives between the rocky layers of the moon's rings. May thinks the Poland shuttle is too large to follow them in, so she's quite surprised when suddenly it pushes down through the rings directly behind her. On the Jedi shuttle, Sol hits a switch, activating a targeting system of some kind, and he begins to maneuver for a shot. Basil, meanwhile, has followed Sol to the cockpit, and he watches from just outside in the access way. Not impressed with the Jedi Master's planned course of action, Basil opens up a panel at the rear of the cockpit, and he tears out a mass of wires. The targeting system collapses, and an alarm sounds. Sol looks back to see the diminutive Tynan essentially thumbing his nose at him before he runs away. As it turns out, it wasn't just the targeting system affected by the saboteur, and indeed, the entire ship takes essentially a rolling nosedive through the rings, sending up a wake of debris that hits May's ship, sending the craft careening out of control back towards the surface of Brendok. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Samson, whatever it was, that scene was amazing.
It was pretty cool.
I
It
did
was
like
pretty
that
cool.
scene.
It was the only time that the ships haven't looked like they were out of Power Rangers. They spent a lot of money on that, and it might make sense why some of the other stuff, the early stuff, didn't look as,
Maybe.
you really do budget for like, oh, I need this to be in the finale, so let's put our money there. But
one of the things that's come up this week over this particular scene is it's clearly it's a targeting computer. Was he attempting to shoot her down, or was this something else, like maybe a tractor beam?
We haven't seen tractor beams used in quite a while, and really that's more of an Imperial thing than a Jedi thing.
Not since Andor, not since the Cantwell cruiser.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen especially the Ghost target systems on ships. So maybe he takes her engines out, or her
maybe
maneuvering thrusters, something.
Gaz says
He's going to kill her. He would have killed her a long time ago.
F that capybara dude. I'm going to come back to that because there's more context here now.
Yeah, if he was about to open fire on her, Basil is more Jedi than he is. He's protecting life.
Joseph says the targeting system is from A New Hope. It is very similar. The audio cues are more like a TIE fighter.
Trench run, maybe?
Definitely a callback to that. But I mean, the spiral telephone cable for sure calls back to that.
Yeah.
At least the box itself. And then, Basil thought that he was going to shoot her down. That's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But why would he care?
Well, this is it. I'm going to come back to
starting to smell like OSHA. I don't know.
Yeah. May flips several switches before stabilizing thrusters fire just as she hits Brendok's atmosphere. She tells Pip to brace as she glides the ship into a controlled crash on the planet's surface. Now, this is not the first time that Basil has pulled an act of sabotage or some other distraction. And in the first time, Andy, you brought it up. The first time we saw this, you hypothesized
that he was trying to stop her from killing Sol.
He was trying to alert Sol
that
something was going on in the ship. Well, now we see him actively trying to stop Sol. So that makes me think that Basil was trying to stall Sol in the first place to give the other Jedi time to show up.
Could
take him in.
Yeah.
Which suggests really that
is
Basil's
it a Darth Jar Jar situation?
That's coming.
Darth Basil. Samson thinks Basil probably has a sense like dogs and cats do when it comes to energy. Quite possible.
I mean, if he
think that's
does care
true.
about May, he's the only one.
Well, I mean,
certainly
Soul
don't.
professes to care about her.
No, I
He
just meant
professes
like,
to.
I know she does.
I don't even know if it's necessarily about caring about the girls as much as as a galactic citizen, that Basil's just trying to do the right thing, and knowing what Saul's up to is not just like the rest of us thought, not characteristic of the Jedi.
No, that's true. And he's under some sort of contract to work for them, so
for sure he's a civilian
tracker
employee. Yeah, the tracker. All right, so I tried. I have to say I tried. We got some language this week that I was completely stumped on. We've got some runic characters on the exterior of the escape craft. We also have whatever it is that came up on the computer system in the Poland shuttle. The characters on both there's elements that could be a few different languages. We have some things that look like Fu Thork. That's our ancient Naboo. We have some things that look like Proto-Besh, and then we have some other things that look like they could be Trade Federation, which makes sense. When we're first introduced to Osha, she's running on a Trade Federation freighter of some kind. So I can see that being the case. The episode guide didn't deliver. I went and looked at some other YouTubers who are generally pretty on point with getting language translations. Nobody talked about this week. It didn't even make anybody else's review that I looked at.
It looks like it says 1920 candy canes are prohibited.
That's right. I don't know. But anyway, thanks to the folks over at Auric Fonts. You've probably seen these posters before. We've used them many times. In fact, I've got one saved to my desktop for our Orbesh translations. You should really take a look at what they're doing over at Auric Fonts. They've compiled all of the existing Star Wars languages, and in some cases have fleshed them out. You can find them at auricfonts.github.io, or you can scan the handy dandy QR code on your screen and go check them out. And you should, because their work is pretty awesome. And you can get some Star Wars fonts off their website too. So go check them out. All right. What did I miss here?
Gaz coming in with one.
Oh, let's back it up here then, just so we're not out of context here. I think it was a spaceship taser system. I mean, if that's an escape ship and suddenly the miracle droid Pip has a dock system everywhere, then sure as capybara poo, that was a spaceship taser.
Taser face.
I buy that for sure.
EMP gun, shut her down.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And Samson has a point too.
He may be sensing her changing to the light side. I never considered that, but that's going back to the descriptive audio and how I was kind of like, descriptive audio lady keeps calling him a Jedi. And we've never seen him do anything overtly Jedi-ish, but maybe.
Well, he does have those spectacular fighting moves.
What, kick him in the shin and run?
Stomp on her foot.
Bite him? All right.
I'd fight him.
With a wipe transition, we go to Coruscant, where Master Vernestra Rowe. By the way, that building, we go to Coruscant a couple times this episode, and I don't understand why they're doing this. They focus on this tower. That's not the Jedi Temple.
No.
The Jedi Temple is the big square ziggurat looking thing in the back. If you're going to the Jedi Temple every time, why do we focus on this other building?
Maybe this is just like
do you recall a taller building than the Jedi Spire on Coruscant? Because I don't.
Yeah, a lot of buildings are bigger than the temple is actually relatively small. It's quite short. It's just that there's nothing tall around it.
That's what I mean. Like I go back and look at the shots that from Revenge of the Sith and Clone Wars and things, and I don't see a building that close, that tall, let alone like it looks like 5-10 of them, scattered about there.
It could be just a perspective thing too, right?
It could be, and maybe the evil Jedi have their own tower because.
So this is it. I racked my brain and I went back to look at all the scenes over the course of the show, the entire show, that when we first were introduced to Vernestra, is she running her murder investigation out of another building? And I couldn't find anything definitively to support that or to disprove that. So I'm going to go with descriptive audio says they're at the Jedi Temple, and of course at the end of this episode, she's still wearing her Senate Tribunal outfit
Right.
when she goes to Yoda's office. And I don't imagine that Yoda has an office in this other building.
No,
unless
if descriptive audio hadn't said that, I would have assumed she
I
was
would've thought they
meeting
were-
at at his home or his office.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
is this a Senate building? Like, what is this? And then I tried to look it up. Like, did the Jedi actually occupy other buildings on Coruscant? And there wasn't anything there to really say yes or no.
We should almost go back to Andor to see what's her face's apartment building. Senator lady.
Padme?
No.
That building is actually is listed.
Yeah. No, from Andor.
The New Republic headquarters?
Maybe.
The one where the interrogation was.
No, the one where she throws her fabulous party and her husband's like hobnobbing.
Mon Mothma's.
That's the one, Mon
but
Mothma.
she lives in the Senate district. They all live in the Senate district, and it was much more densely populated than this. That's an interesting thought. I did not know that. Joseph says that David Harewood was originally filmed as Plagueis, but refilmed as a he's not a Jedi Council member. He's a senator in this. Oh, unless they refilmed it as a Jedi Council member and then refilmed it.
I don't know.
Oppo Rensisis was a Jedi Council member in original filming, then cut and refilming.
I never heard any of that. But
no,
throw up if you got a source, man.
I
I
would love to see some of the references for this, because I'm definitely interested in reading that.
Well, he could definitely play multiple characters. He was the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Didn't they? Samson says, didn't they say that they were a lower level council, so it's not the same temple? In our show, we actually talked about that. There's the 3-4 sub councils.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked, is Vernestra actually the head of one of the sub councils?
Mm-hmm.
But all of the sub councils, if you look at the Jedi Temple, there's
4 spires.
There's the central spire, which is nothing. There's the 4. All their work happens in those spires at the temple, at the Zuggurat. So I'm not sure. I'm convinced that this is a very bad way to set up an establishing shot for a building that you're not in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
or at least do a flyby.
If we're in the Jedi Temple, why isn't it front and center? It's always we move around this building. Oh, there it is in the background.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. I still don't like it.
Oh, and shout out TJC. Welcome to the show.
TJ's here.
What
Hello,
up, dude?
sir. Nice to see you.
Bro. Yeah, what's up, man?
So yes, with a wipe transition, we presumably go to Coruscant, where Master Vernestra Rowe meets with Senator Raincourt at the Jedi Temple. So they say. The senator apologizes for his intrusion, and he makes small talk about his surprise at the Jedi Master traveling through hyperspace. He asks how her stomach is now. Vernestra corrects the senator. She says, it's my head, actually, and I'm fine. Totally a throwaway line. If you have not read any of the High Republic novels, this means absolutely nothing to you other than she gets car sick.
Yeah.
What's his face?
However,
2 episodes ago.
Surprised to learn that, oh, no, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because Vernestra, as a child, this is detailed in the High Republic books, when she travels through hyperspace, she gets force visions, which come in really handy when they're fighting the Nile.
Mm.
Why didn't they get into that with this character? Anyway. Raincourt, he plays civil with her, but he cuts right to the chase. He's concerned that she's leading a murder investigation and that she hasn't reported it to the Senate. Well, the Jedi Master tells him that she's keeping the investigation internal for now, and she reminds him that she does have the authority to act independently, as she says, when there is no larger threat. But Raincourt questions, how could you know there's no larger threat? Well, she tells him that the victims were all Jedi. He seems quite shocked to learn that victims, plural, there was more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she tells him that she's close to apprehending a suspect. The senator asks if the suspect is also a Jedi, but Vernestra dodges the question with, very close. Thank you for your concern.
Go away now.
Senator Raincourt posits that Master Vernestra doesn't like him. She thinks his campaign for an external review of the Jedi Order is a personal vendetta. She tells him her honest opinion, yes, which he acknowledges as good before he offers his own honest opinion. He tells Vernestra that the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power posing as a religion. a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable. Vernestra says the Jedi don't control the Force, but he corrects her, not the Force, your emotions. He says that despite the Jedi's portrayal of goodness and restraint, it's only a matter of time before one of them snaps. And when that happens, who will be strong enough to stop them?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's right. That's right.
Short answer.
Yep.
Luke Skywalker.
That too. Vernestra says that's certainly an opinion, and it's not one shared by the majority of the Senate. Rayancourt remarks that the majority of the Senate couldn't imagine the galaxy without the Jedi, because when you're looking up to heroes, you don't have to face what's right in front of you. Shaking her head, Vernestra asks, "Is that all, Senator?" And she uses the Force to open the door. Rayancourt looks at the open door, and he takes her meaning that this meeting is over. Squinting at her, he lets her know that he has reported her for her lack of transparency to Chancellor Drellick, who may invite her to a Senate tribunal for an update. And he adds, "I hope for your sake, you have the suspect in custody by then." With a condescending, "May the Force be with you," the senator departs the control room while Vernestra stares unblinking at him.
So the High Council knows now.
They're about to, because you don't think the Senate's going to go back. What's
just
going on?
Such shitty writing. Like, oh yeah.
Season 2. Samson says season 2 is needed for sure if we want more of the last episode. And Joseph says, good line they wrote was, "What is it that you all say? May the Force be with you." Yes, I totally love that line. She is so standoffish in this scene with him, and is it I don't know if it's justified, unless that's the show's way of showing us her own sort of emotional slant.
Yeah, but she's already been warned about this guy, right?
Well,
that was Senator What You Want.
That's right. Yeah, what you want?
What you
want?
He's like, this guy's pressing to have this external investigation, and he's not favorable to Jedi. So,
one other thing that I want to talk about that happened in this scene, and I know that the show has established that it's her thing. We've never seen her open a door manually. Everything, every door, bar none, every door she's opened in the series has been with the Force. But when she does it here, that is a blatant display of her own arrogance towards you ask me.
It's
like
get out. What do you say? A power maneuver?
Absolutely, it is.
Hey, you know what I can do?
Yeah, yeah. Like, are you trying to intimidate me, Master Vernestra? Because we could just defund you 100%. Anyway, interesting. I like that scene. By the way, David Harewood, awesome actor. I really like him.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen more between these two, develop her a little bit more, because she was kind of wooden the whole series. But that's what we got.
The one thing though, like when she jumps to it, like, we don't control the Force.
No, I know.
How is that like on the forefront of her mind when Chimere's whole thing is like, you guys control the Force, or you guys control how people should access the Force.
Control who is allowed to access it
and how.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Like, that's where she jumps straight away, and he's like, no, just the system.
Yeah. Tease says, now if they do a season 2, one mistake that they need to avoid is making out that she can dupe Master Yoda, as he would sense it immediately.
Yes.
Agreed.
She's going in that scene. She has to be going to apologize for lying, because he just said, "I'm telling the Jedi Council."
Yeah. He's telling the Senate.
Who talks to the Jedi Council?
Right? I don't disagree with that.
So what's about to happen is she's about to get ratted on.
Oh yeah.
She's been holding back information. There's Samson's got a question there, and I just wanted to address that.
They know that Sol killed everyone and then killed himself. Yoda may know more because of the last episode.
But that's not all they know. They know that she was lying about the whole thing,
she was
covering it up.
Information.
She's now a part of it.
And Kiadi Monday didn't know either.
Yeah.
Guys, it's a total power move, a badass power move, a move that every one of us would have done. I can't argue with that either.
Well, a more
how many times? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Andy. Yeah. How many times have any of us and any of you guys out there gone to Walmart and you get to the doors and you do this?
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Oh,
choke
no.
the person at the
Every time.
counter. Because that happens, right? You go to
get the
Walmart, you
door
choke a guy.
and you may or may not give a double check who's watching, but I don't care.
I don't care. I never
Kids do
check.
it now, too.
Absolutely. So
Sometimes
yes,
I'll do it with two hands. I don't
Gaz,
care.
you're right. I would have done it.
Every single time.
Totally would have done it.
More aggressive though, if she had opened the door and then forced
And
him
then
out.
pushed him out.
Sometimes in the middle of a fight with my wife, I'll look at the dog and I'll say, "Order 66." But nothing will ever
Nothing
happen.
happens. It would have been better though, instead of like doing the combat like to levitate him off the floor by like
Just move
inch
him out
and
of the
just
room.
put him down and then
Yeah.
and close the door.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like when it's when camp doesn't insist upon itself,
Yeah.
it's completely valid. This show is taking itself so seriously.
Joseph says that the ratings are very low, so season 2 looks to be very unlikely. Leslie Headland has posted that she's begging fans to start a fan campaign to get this a season 2.
Meh.
Wow. You know, I mean, as a Star Wars fan, I'm never going to say no to
More Star Wars?
More Star Wars. Again, it's got to be handled the right way, and I'm not sure that
If they make a season 2 of this, it means they're not going to make something else, and I'd rather they make something else. Right?
I'm hoping that Skeleton Crew will be a giant palate cleanser.
I hope so.
I really, really, really do.
I might be unduly nervous now. Like that's a problem I have. Like, you know, I was wondering at the beginning, is this just Star Wars fatigue? Am I being too hard on them? And then it's like, it just keeps getting worse.
It's funny that you say that, Star Wars fatigue. That's a term that we've heard associated with Marvel in recent years. Marvel fatigue or superhero fatigue. Do you think we're there?
I mean, I don't know. Like I still love everything. I still, I'm looking forward to Ewoks and I'm looking forward to the other properties. I'm just like, I still stand by the very first thing I said in the chat, halfway through the first episode. And I messaged you guys and I said, shockingly subpar. Yeah. My opinion hasn't changed.
No.
And that worries me for what they're willing to put out in terms of quality, because like when you actually said that at the time, we don't need nothing. It doesn't all have to be cinematic quality, but I think in this day and age, it really does.
It's not that it doesn't need to be. It's just I feel like we run the risk of sabotaging. It's the gift horse in the mouth thing. Like if everything has to be of cinematic quality, then it just precludes other things from getting made. And we never would have got 7 seasons of an animated series that is essentially universally loved now.
Wasn't loved at the beginning though.
Well, no, it wasn't. And I mean,
I would argue just a tiny bit though that other than the film, the theatrical release, everything about that was like cinematic and of the highest
in
quality.
tone. Yeah, absolutely it was. But if we have to have cinematic quality, we have to have cinematic budget, and that's just not realistic in television.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if they made their, like, we still don't exactly, it's never been disclosed exactly how they make money on streaming services, but I can't imagine as what Joseph said earlier about their low ratings, that they would greenlight. Like, you don't go into a sequel now for $60 million.
No,
right?
No.
You got to top this.
I
Visually,
mean,
at any rate, right?
if you're making what was it, 180 million for this show?
Yeah.
So you've got to deliver on at least the same kind of budget. I mean, now granted, sequels have been made on lower budgets. I mean, Planet of the Apes is a classic example of a franchise where every sequel got a progressively successively lower budget,
and it showed.
Yeah, that's the only reason that those movies stayed profitable, because each one cost less to make.
You could have made 15 Godzilla -1s for the budget of this.
Oh my God! Yes, yes.
And that movie was incredible.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. All right, let's get back on track here for a second. Not that this isn't, because I'm totally loving all of this.
But we're just gonna catch up here.
Absolutely. Gaz says she also knows who the Sith dude is. She sensed him on the planet when his helmet was off. So I took her visiting Yoda as that's what she was going to him about.
Quite possible.
There's some validity in that. There is absolutely some validity in that.
She absolutely recognized who he is.
Wow. I
She's
mean,
like,
she even says,
"You're alive."
We're going to come back to that, but she even says, a former pupil of mine.
Yeah.
Samson says, as far as the Senate knows, this was Sol and his cover-up. Case closed unless they get more evidence. Yoda may be a part of the cover-up, and Yoda has always been deceiving in the films. it's interesting. And where Yoda's concerned, nobody has been, like we've said this before, there's some mysteries in Star Wars that should not be explained. Yoda's species being one of them. It's probably the greatest unsolved mystery in Star Wars to date. Nobody knows who Yoda's species is. Is he, a
wisp?
Is he a greasy little dude too on the side? Like also part of the conspiracy? I hope not.
No,
I hope not.
I sincerely hope not.
I quit if that's the case.
Yeah. Tej says Leslie is asking for a fan campaign just to keep her job.
I'm looking for a personal assistant. So I work across from a public school.
In my opinion, this is only second to Rogue One. What a great show. Wow. Do you mean our show or the Acolyte?
Because
I'm just being cheeky. I'm sorry. Oh, thanks, guys. Gotta go. No, thank you. We appreciate that. I love the support. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Just before you go, come back this week. Go back and revisit Bright Tree Village on Endor, because that's where we're going next week when we dive into Star Wars Ewoks, the 1985 animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler. Okay, yeah. One more from Joseph. Joseph says, Star Wars Skeleton Crew poster leaks online and puts the spotlight on the show's mysterious droid character. Gots to love me some Star Wars droids. Always do. Okay, so we're past. Okay. All right. So now Senator Raincourt, as already mentioned, is played by David Harewood. Now, this is his first appearance in Star Wars, but you might recognize him as David Estes from Homeland, or John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, in 126 episodes of the CW Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Great role for him, by the way.
It was a weird role for him because he started out as what's his face, the cyborg Superman. Hank Henshaw, his identity he adopted.
Yeah. That was the identity, yeah.
Before taking full John Jones. Anyway.
Interesting. Joseph says that all episode ratings have to be known. Up until today, only the first episode ratings are known so far and are not in the top 20. When all 8 are known, then Disney will make their decision. That seems reasonable.
Yeah,
that
seems probably will.
All right. David Harewood, Senator Raincourt. There we go. On Ball Demnick, OSHA. Yeah, Andy.
Sorry. One thing to point out, the little amulet thing he's wearing there.
Oh,
do we think there's any affiliation with Crimson Dawn?
No.
Not at this time in history.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I don't think so. I think this is just a case of the prop department made a thing that looked like a thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I could be wrong.
Could be.
Because Crimson Dawn has been around a lot longer than Maul's Shadow Collective, so it's not impossible. How's that?
Out of the question.
Not impossible. On Ball Demnick, OSHA and Chimere walk down the stone jetty leading towards the Sith apprentice's starship. The two of them quip about OSHA not saying where it is that they're going. She tells Chimere they either go together or not at all, and that seems fair. Chimere says, "Did I give you the impression that I was fair?" Confidently, OSHA says, "Yes, you did. You made a deal with my sister and you expected her to uphold it. That's fair. And so is this." Chimere stops OSHA partway down the jetty and he says that she should be trained. He asks her if she would ever consider becoming his apprentice. She smiles at him before answering, "No." Chimere steps closer. "Last chance," he says with a slight grin. OSHA sticks to her guns, reminding him that she isn't her sister. Chimere tightens his jaw as he nods. "You're definitely not. May made that deal without even thinking about it." Chimere continues down the jetty while OSHA watches him pensively for a moment.
She pretty much owns him in this scene. Like, as far as him being like this superior Sith Lord-ish type, he's really on the same level. Or at least
I think so. I mean, is this a move for him? Like, with what's about to happen, is this a move for him to elevate himself within that organization?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, if that's the relationship he has with the Plagueis character, then everybody wants to kill their master and take an apprentice, right?
At some point, that is the how they perpetuate the order.
And if you read the Vader comic, and I keep telling everybody read the Vader comic, he tries so many times to kill Sidious, many times, and fails. It's like a running gag at and he's just he's treated like a child by Palpatine.
No, he
So an early attempt to usurp your master is like it goes with the territory. So
I think so.
Join me and together we'll rule the galaxy.
I mean, you go through all this rule of two stuff, but even at the same time, you had you had Palpatine taking Maul, like courting Dooku in the background
at the same time,
while planning to take Anakin over.
Yep.
While Dooku has
Asajj
Ventress, and then the other Savage Opress.
Oh, Savage.
So it's never been realistically a rule of two. It's always been like, hopefully we're the two that end up being in power, right?
It's supposed to be two, and if I find out that there's more, I'll kill you and I'll pare it back down. But yeah, exactly. Teach says hopefully Chimera takes out Vernestra before his own obvious demise happens.
Or they go out together.
That's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. And then this one, pertinent to the slide we're on right now, Joseph asks, did you guys notice in the background that the rocks they're walking on, it was a large, huge fortress that had been destroyed?
Certainly looks like
Certainly
it.
There's a big difference between natural rock and a cut stone.
Mm-hmm.
The fortress was actually a forge to protect the Cortosis mine, similar to Mando and the forge of Beskar. That makes sense. Living in a mine, a Cortosis mine.
You would need somewhere to
and
process.
certainly that's what they were doing on the planet anyway. They were in that novel. They were looking for Cortosis or getting Cortosis. So yeah, it totally makes sense. How much of that they're going to
delve into
officially canonize, yet to see. But yeah, I buy that. All right, cut to a view from just inside the entrance to Chimera's mining cave hovel. Chimera's ship flies into view while a mysterious figure with a spindly, bony hand creeps up to the entrance to watch. The camera, oh my gosh. The camera switches to outside the cave entrance where we see a cloaked figure with ashen skin and an elongated head peer out with yellow Sith-like eyes. And another, we don't think this is anybody else but who we think it is.
Yeah.
This is almost certainly Darth Plagueis, that the same Plagueis that Palpatine spoke of during the opera in Revenge of the Sith. He definitely runs a close match for the look that he's been given on the cover of the 2012 novel Darth Plagueis,
especially the novel. Yeah.
And that look has pretty much been consistent in all other media across the franchise ever since. Now, Darth Plagueis is a male moon or Mune from the planet Munilist. Originating on the planet Munilist, the species was first introduced in 2002's Attack of the Clones. At that time, they were never actually named. It wasn't until later in the same month in Star Wars Gamer magazine, issue number 10, in an article called Galactic Power Brokers, where they were identified as Mune. And here's a funny little anecdote for you. When Star Wars Story Group senior creative executive Leland Shee was asked if this character in the Star Wars animated segment from the holiday special could be considered a Mune, his answer was, sure.
Sure, why not?
I'm not immune to that idea.
No, exactly. On Brendok, we see the Poland shuttle resting a short distance away from the mountain fortress. Inside the cockpit, Sol cycles some controls before switching the ship's transponder back on. The Jedi Master exits the ship and he walks a few meters before holding up a hand and closing his eyes. He reaches out with the Force to sense May, presumably, before setting off towards the mountain. Inside the shuttle, Basil watches as the misguided Jedi heads toward the fortress.
Kind of weird that he parked so far away.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like,
but again,
she crashed. She could be knocked out.
Well,
parking far away is a Star Wars trope.
That whole thing, though, with this fortress, there's no land, there's no spaceport, but there's a landing area nearby.
But it does make sense if he didn't want her to steal his ship the moment he's out, right?
Think about it though. Now, if this is how far they are away, think about it the night that they were fighting Kel Naka, that Indara had to run that far. Holy crap, she's fast.
And somebody climbed the mountain twice that night.
Yeah, that's right. At the Jedi Temple, Master Venestra sits at a table in the control room on a comms call with someone. Coincidentally, the communication device looks an awful lot like the one on the Death Star that Han Solo uses.
Are you good? We're good.
We're all fine here. What's your operating number? It sounds like she's acknowledging that the person that she wants to talk to is busy, but she needs to get a message to him, whoever he is.
Yoda.
The man on the other end calls this highly unorthodox, but I'll see what I can do. Just then, Mog enters the room to tell her that Master Sol has turned his transponder back on and that he's on Brendok. Vernestra instructs Mog to prepare her ship and to gather as many knights as he can without raising an alarm. Mog asks her if she's anticipating a confrontation, but she answers a resolution. Now, Andy, you said it, but who do we think that she's talking to on the
Yoda?
Yoda's office, per se,
Yes,
or
yes.
somebody who's close to Yoda?
Trying to get a hold of Yoda.
And trying to get ahead of that whole Senate review thing.
Yeah, get out ahead of that.
He's mysterious. That's the wrong word. He's always absent. There's I can't remember what it is. One of the comics where he's just like, I'm not going to do this High Council thing anymore. Like, I'll still be on it, but I'm actually going to go and like gallivant and do some I'm going to stay on this planet and help these settlers.
Oh, that's nice. That's cool.
And so it's like, and they're surprised by this. Like the rest of the council and some of the other Jedi are like, what do you mean? Like, that's not what.
Why would you
Grand Masters do? He's like, Grand Masters do whatever they want, basically. So he's probably away on a sabbatical or something like that.
Quite possibly. That I who doesn't want a Yoda centric series?
Yes,
that's a whole other thing. Anyway,
I just want it set. I want it set. I'd love to see it set between
Yoda in his prime.
Well, no, honestly, I think a much more interesting story is what's going on in his head after
after 66.
So what,
the
after
rise of
his
like his life. I would do and I know it probably wouldn't be. There's got to be a story beat, something cool.
Yeah,
like him maybe versus self in the cave on Dagobah. I don't know how a 2-hour movie it would work for, but I'd like to see him fighting his demons. Like he's another, like just like Obi-Wan, he's going to be shell shocked. He's going to have to dig deep and look internally.
I was just thinking that. I mean, Obi-Wan had the flexibility of being able to leave the planet. No spaceports on Dagobah, so presumably Bail Organa dropped him off there.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had to drop him off.
Yeah.
Or he took a ship on a one-way trip
and just dumped it in the swamp.
Yeah. I mean, that actually makes more sense now that I think about it, because if you didn't want anybody coming after you, why would you let someone someone drop you off? Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes more sense. All right, so we cut to space over Brendok, where the moons are closing in on another eclipse. Kymir's ship streaks toward the planet. Down in the atmosphere, Osha and Kymir sit in dual cockpits around a central sphere that houses the ship's engines. Kymir remarks to Osha that she's come all the way back home. Osha flips some switches, which cut the power to the other cockpit. Kymir tugs at the stick, and when he realizes that he's been locked out, he flips some switches to no avail. Osha tells him there's no spaceport here, but there is a landing area close by. Looking at a topographical display of the mountain fortress, Osha exclaims, "They're already there." As the ship passes over a mountain ridge, we can see the fortress far off in the distance. Yes. The answer is yes. It sounded like Ian McKellen. It's not Ian McKellen.
No.
Definitely not.
And I'm not going to rewatch the episode.
No, not going to rewatch it. I will go back, though. I will give you this one. I will go back. Yep. Saw the thing. There it is in the corner with Han Solo talking into it. I definitely saw that. But definitely not Ian McKellen. They're already there. Okay, so I had to do this again. It's me being a ship nerd. This is the best look that we've gotten at this ship. So far, the entire series. And once again, Star Wars continuing the long-running trope of bad guy ships either have rounded hulls and or large radiator panels, as you can see by this image of virtually every
version.
This ship looks like they took a piece off every other ship there and built it out of that.
They took the panel, separated it, one forward, one back. I kind of got P-38 Lightning vibes with the twin, the outriggers there. Which
when you do that image, it's so kit bashed, it's crazy.
Yeah. But again, there you go.
Very cool.
Did we get the name for that ship?
We did not get a name, and the episode guide did not deliver on that either.
They were doing good with the ship names there.
Yeah, no, they did all right on that. We didn't get the language this week. Maybe I would have got a clue out of that. I don't know. So as at the entrance to the courtyard, Sol watches as Chimere's ship passes by. Entering the courtyard, he is fraught with emotion as he recalls the events of the night 16 years earlier. Staring at the site where he killed Anastasia, he tightens his jaw before calling out, "May!" Then, turning, he walks towards the entrance. At the front gate to the fortress, Osha tells Chimere that getting the elevator controls working again is the only way they're going to get in unless he wants to climb. Well, she looks at the panel, and then suddenly the disembodied voice of Chimere says, "Are you sure?" Looking around, Osha finds herself alone. Anybody have a theory on what happened here?
Did he just teleport like Anastasia?
I feel that he used the black smoke thing. We just don't get to see it.
Well, maybe.
I feel that he's I feel like, and this is where this goes back to one of those unanswered questions. Coral's still in the wind.
Yes.
And I think she plays in this somehow. I think that they had, literally in the wind. I think that Chimere and Coral have a relationship that we're not privy to, that maybe is part of the longer game. Should there be?
Leslie Headland actually did come out and say,
yeah.
Oh, no.
She said Chimere and Coral have zero relationship.
Really?
But they were going to flesh that out going forward in season 2.
Oh,
like what happened to Coral, where she went.
Yeah, she also mentioned something about her returning to her ancestral home, which we had a big talk about not being Dathomir because of the so.
But again, in that whole, we can just play fast and loose with the rules right now. Established canon says female Zabrak with horns are Iridonian, not Dathomiri. That could change. Creamy Goodness on YouTube. Welcome to the show. Says, interesting that even in a galaxy far, far away, Disney made a Star Wars movie where the black kids still don't have fathers. Oh. Isn't that something? It's true, though. It is true.
But at least they were like, loving mothers.
They were. Oh, they were. They absolutely were.
To the degree of violence.
In their own way. Yeah, in their own way. Inside the fortress, Sol passes through the common room into the generator annex. He pauses at the sight of the mangled catwalk, and a painful expression washes over his face. After a moment, he turns to walk away, and as he does, the camera descends to the edge of the doorway where a gloved hand reaches up and grips the walkway. May pulls herself up from the cavern. And if this isn't literally rising from the ashes, then I don't know what is.
It is.
Great piece of symbolism here.
But why the hell is there so much catwalk still there?
Because that's the way they built the set.
I know. But like in the flashbacks, both pieces fall.
They fall that much. Did they actually fall into the pit?
I thought they did.
I'd have to go
back.
Especially
Maze.
Yeah.
Still doesn't make sense that instead of grabbing the two girls with the Force, that way $1.05 each.
Seriously.
He would try to lift a gantry.
2 gantries.
Mm-hmm.
In a dark hallway, Sol calls out again, "May!" His breathing is heavy with anxiety. From behind him, Chimere. Oh, did I go? I skipped. Oh, I skipped the whole thing. I'm so sorry. As Sol slowly makes his way through the fortress, he calls out again, "May!" Hearing his call, she pauses a moment before continuing. After a time, May finds herself in her childhood bedroom. At the same time, Osha has hotwired the elevator controls and the front door slides open. Sorry for that flub there. I didn't mean to skip ahead like that.
Where's Vernestra when you need to open a door?
Watch later on.
I know.
Funny though. Funny. Remember that. She hotwired the door. It works. When the Jedi show up, they can't open the door.
It's because they don't have the access code.
All right. As slow. In a dark hallway, Sol calls out again, "May!" This is the third time now. He's just walking around yelling at people. His breathing is heavy with anxiety. From behind him, Chimere's electronically modulated voice rings out, "Thank you for leading me to her." Soul wheels to face the helmeted stranger. He tells the Jedi Master they make a great team. Who makes a great team? There's some question about who he's referring to. Who is the we in "We Make a Great Team"?
Maybe himself and Soul.
Yeah, that's one of them. Like, he and Soul make a great team, which is weird to me. I just assumed that he was meaning him and May.
Oh, maybe. Or his two sabers.
That's possible.
Pair of sabers.
But at the same time, he pushed him almost to the edge on whatever planet that was.
Kafar?
Kafar, yeah.
Kafar, yeah.
And maybe he's sensing that Saul is getting closer to going over the edge.
Oh, maybe.
Keep that seduction train rolling.
Maybe. Well, he says that they make a great team before activating his crimson lightsaber and advancing towards him. Soul draws his own weapon, and the two clash blades in a furious duel that takes them outside to the footbridge that overlooks the courtyard. Chimere is relentless in his attack, driving Soul back until the Jedi leaps off the bridge to put some space between them. But Chimere follows, and in a very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon-esque moment, the two float down to the courtyard. Soul evades a massive overhand chop, and he readies his own blade for the next attack. "I will destroy you if I must." Chimere quips back, "Not if she gets you first." Detaching the dagger from his lightsaber, Chimere goes on the offensive again, driving the Jedi Master back, while Saul blocks and dodges a number of blows before finally disarming the stranger of the dagger and tossing it across the courtyard.
It's not like he can just force pull it back to himself.
Well, he tries. He does try.
Yeah.
Chimere tries to recover the blade with the Force, but Saul interrupts him by going on the offensive. Shutting off his own saber, Soul literally runs up Chimere's body before planting a kick to the chest that sends him skidding backwards across the courtyard. Chimere uses the Force to recover the dagger while Soul reignites his lightsaber in a low ready position. Now, with both blades back in his possession, Chimere throws the sabers at Soul, who deflects them with relative ease. Then, reaching out with a hand to guide the still flying blades, he charges. Where are we going here? Here we go. Soul clips his lightsaber to his belt, and he begins to make a sweeping gesture with his hand. As the spinning crimson lightsaber blades close in, Chimere leaps into the air to deliver a flying fist, which to coincide with his saber strike. But Soul emits a 360-degree wave of Force energy that blasts Chimere and the blades back several meters. I've seen people equate this to some of the stuff we've seen in the video games.
Battlefront. Luke Skywalker's got a Battlefront 2 ability like this.
I think Galen Marek has a similar ability in Force Unleashed, I think.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So does Darth Vader in Disney Infinity.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you
That's
go.
a very common.
But it's nice to see it incorporated.
No, it's cool.
Here.
And the way that it looks, the wavy visual. I like that. Soul reignites. Sorry, what did I do here? Oh, yes. And several meters. Soul reignites his lightsaber and adopts an on-guard position while Chimere recovers his blades with the Force. Reattaching the dagger to the rest of the saber, he charges in again. In their childhood bedroom, May and Osha are reunited. Looking at the charred remains of the room, Osha blames May for everything that happened that night when the Jedi arrived. May tries to tell her, "I didn't do this," and that Soul lied to her. She says Soul blamed her, but then Osha blurts out, "He never blamed you." With tears welling in her eyes, Osha explains that Soul tried to teach her to accept that someone she loved was capable of doing what happened, and that she failed because she couldn't learn to calm her negative emotions and the hatred that she has for her sister over the death of their mother. And that's the reason why she never became a Jedi. May tells Osha that it was Soul that killed their mother. She witnessed it firsthand, and he's lied to her every day since they left Brendok. May rationalizes that Soul couldn't possibly teach her to control her negative emotions when he's the reason she has them to begin with. She tells her sister, "You didn't fail. He did." Overcome with rage, Osha attacks May, and the two of them fight. It's never been more apparent that the two of them are a split consciousness, as blow for blow, each girl is equal to the other, using the same strikes and defenses simultaneously. Finally, at a stalemate, both girls face one another. Osha screams at May, who just stares confounded at the rage in her sister. But then Osha launches again. There's a moment during the fight where Osha recognizes Pip on May's belt. And she calls out to him. Interestingly, the droid squirts water in her eyes. And more interestingly is that his eyes in this sequence don't appear to be red anymore.
Yeah, they shifted earlier when she got on the ship, right?
Yeah. Cut to the courtyard where the lightsaber duel rages on. The two trade strikes back and forth until the sound of an approaching ship creates a lull in the battle. Seeing Master Vernestra's ship, Saul raises his weapon and declares, "Now you pay for what you've done." Condescendingly, Chimera quips back, "Oh, they're not here for me," and launches another attack. At the same time, in the bedroom, the girls continue their fight, also stopping as Vernestra's ship passes overhead. The girls look up at it, but when Osha diverts her attention back to May, she finds herself alone. Outside, Chimera and Sol continue dueling. At one point, Chimera misses with a jab, and when recovering his blade, he locks it with Sol's, and he tries to pull the Jedi Master's lightsaber into his Cortosis helmet. Intentionally tries to pull it in to short it out. The blade lock sends a shower of sparks over Chimera's helmet, and the only way that Sol can avoid having his weapon shorted out is to deactivate it. Taking a step back, he reignites it, and the two charge each other like dueling samurai. With one sweep of Sol's sword, Chimera's blade winks out, the top of his hilt having been cut off, now exposing the red kyber crystal inside. Throwing the weapon to the ground, he lifts off his helmet and he faces the Jedi, who now holds him in defeat at lightsaber point. I'm surprised that he took the helmet off, to be honest.
Yeah, because is there any? Because he said in the one episode, "There's something familiar about you." So did they have interactions previously?
I don't know. Yeah, and there's no recognition of you.
Yeah, because you think you take your helmet off, you're supposed to get. Oh my god, it's you.
If he's Vernestra's Padawan, and
I guess there's some potential there.
She's got a long lifespan. I'm not sure, because the High Republic stuff before this is 100 years before this, and she's central at that. So you would assume that he's the same age or a little bit younger than Saul, and therefore one Padawan would know another.
I would have thought so.
I don't know.
I would have thought so. From out of nowhere, May rushes in and attacks Sol. Deactivating his saber, he fights her hand to hand, which proves to be more than he was bargaining for, as May actually manages to take him to the ground. On the ground, though, Sol tosses her aside, but when she rolls back up to her feet, Sol is shocked to see his lightsaber in May's hand. Chimera praises her. "Good, May. Feel your anger. This is the source of your pain." But instead of embracing his seductive words, she throws the lightsaber away. The hilt smashes against a rock, chipping the emitter, exposing the blue kyber crystal inside. Not willing to let her go, Chimera encourages her. "Strike him down, and your journey will be complete."
Legacy line.
Yeah, seriously. But May's expression softens as she shakes her head and says, "No." Staring at Sol, she says that she wants him to confess what he did and to face the Jedi High Council, the Senate, and the Republic as a whole, that he should pay for his crimes. Sol meekly professes, "I did the right thing. I wanted to protect you both." And May asks, "From what?" Taking a few steps toward her, Sol tells May, "You're not twins. You and Osha are the same person." He says he doesn't know how her mother did it, but it has something to do with the Vergence that's here on Brendok. May asks how she did what, and he tells her, "Create life, yours and Osha's." Sol believes their mother somehow used the Force to create them, and he asks if she has any idea what kind of power that is. Sarah says that Chimera and Soul's lightsaber battle was good, probably the best part of the episode, and Chimera's fighting style is cool. I agree. The fighting in the whole series, not that there's been a whole lot of it, but what we have seen has been very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the camera cuts to a view from a passageway in the fortress looking out into the courtyard. Soul continues, in the history of the galaxy, very few have been that powerful. Then the camera cuts to Soul's lightsaber laying at the mouth of the passageway. Osha's black boots step into frame, and she picks up the weapon. In the courtyard, May answers Soul with, "And you killed her. You killed our mother." May stares at him, unblinking, as anguish overwhelms the Jedi, and he confesses, "Yes." A remorseful expression creeps up, and he stares at the ground. "I did." May, filled with her own emotions, looks away from Saul to Osha, standing in the mouth of the passageway with a lightsaber in her hand. Stepping out from the shadows, Osha's voice cracks as she asks, "Is that true?" Soul spins to face her. Taking a slow breath, he says he was protecting her, and it was the right thing to do. Her voice still quivering, Osha questions, "If it was the right thing to do, why didn't you tell the Jedi?" Soul gestures towards May, and he says that without her, there was no proof the two of them were created this way. Nodding, she asks, "Why didn't you tell me?" Pretty sure of himself, Soul shakes his head, and he says they would have sent her away. He says that she was too old to train, and the Jedi never would have let her join the Order otherwise, and he did what he thought was best for her. This guy is
no
double,
proof
triple...
except the blood samples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Soul begins to walk towards Osha, the emotion in his voice building as he tells her, "Of course I wanted to tell you so many times, but I couldn't." In turn, Osha begins walking towards Soul. Turning his lightsaber over in her hand, she tells him, "Stop talking." The quiver in her voice is now gone. Soul says he kept the truth from her so she could have the life that she dreamed of. "I did everything because I love..." His voice trails off. Soul blinks with bewilderment before grasping at his throat. Both May and Chimera look on in silence as Soul stands there choking. Soul drops his hand from his throat, and he falls to his knees as Osha lifts her hand, her fingers curled, and whispers, "Stop talking." Osha stares mercilessly as Soul suffers. A single tear streaks down his cheek. As the rage flows through her, the camera shifts to the kyber crystal in Soul's lightsaber, the blue facets now changing to red. Staring up at her, Soul manages to squeak out his last words, "Osha, it's okay." For the slightest moment, Osha hesitates, conflicted, but nodding her head, she curls her fingers into a tight fist, choking the life from the Jedi Master, and he falls dead. Osha gasps as she drops to her knees beside the dead Jedi Master. May catches her breath as she watches her sister. We've talked about this before extensively, in fact, especially on our Chasing Kyber video where we talked about lightsabers throughout the Star Wars canon and Legends. But this is indeed the first time we are seeing in live action, or any action for that matter, moving action, a lightsaber crystal being bled. We've seen this in Marvel Comics. Both Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and Darth Vader have done this. And Hank, I know you have a lot strong opinion about this. I want you to share that with everybody because I feel it's important.
I just feel like, first of all, there's a lot of chatter about, oh my God, this is a strange canon. People aren't aware out there that this is the way that it's done now. So we'll go back in time a little bit, and we know that Legends is Legends, but you'll recall that the Sith previously would have to use an artificial crystal,
a synthetic crystal,
right, or off colors and stuff. So that's one thing Disney brought in to was this idea that you could corrupt a crystal. Kyber being almost like a sentient thing, like the crystals speak to particular Jedi.
They are inherently good.
And I don't even know if it's Disney, because we were heading that direction with the Clone Wars. When we started getting into the esoteric nature of the Force and the Jedi's relationship with the crystal, a lot of things come into play. for me, this just like is just a way for them to sell a new feature on a lightsaber.
Oh,
The stuff that Ben Solo goes through. Okay.
yeah.
I'm not trying to belittle this character's fall. She's feeling pain. She's very angry, and this is her moment. But it's not like you killed all the kids you grew up with.
Yeah.
And tried to kill your master and burnt down a Jedi temple. Or it's not like you killed all the children at a Jedi temple, the Jedi younglings, and then proceeded to do all manner of horrible things. And especially, and I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but especially I feel like they got it right in the Vader comic, because he operates with a blue lightsaber for like the first year of his Vaderness.
Yeah.
And he finally kills a Jedi, takes his saber, and tries many times to bleed it, because Palpatine's saying this is the way it's done.
Need to do this, yeah.
And he can't. Like he can't. It fights back against him. He has to take it to Mustafar, take the thing apart, put the thing on an altar and meditate on it and go wage psychic war with the crystal.
Yep.
At one point, the crystal physically pins him up against a wall. He has a vision of Obi-Wan forgiving him and his turn to the light side. Like this crystal's trying to, it's this complex, emotional, crazy event.
I think that's the thing that's not conveyed well here at all. And that the Kyber crystal, as I said before, they are inherently light side, and they push back against this process. They try to resist it.
So, and I think that a lot of people are pointing at the Dagon Garrick.
From Jedi Survivor.
Right. So, and that's probably the closest thing to this, but you'll recall that at the beginning of the episode, I said, I'm a lot more forgiving with things that are canon-y weirdness.
Yeah.
When I see them in comics, when I see them in other media, novels and video games. And for me, this is just like, and I don't say this lightly or often, but this is so crazy Mary Sue.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, Sarah agrees with you. She says, I agree. The bleeding of the crystal was far too easy.
It could take days or months, depending on the level of the person trying to do it.
The way that it happens, like in these two examples with Vader and with Ben Solo, these are conscious, deliberate acts to subjugate and to control it.
Right.
The way that it happens in the episode, it's like what was the thing I heard? Oh, the equation of it's a mood ring now.
It's a mood ring.
It's a mood ring. You're upset. It happens as a result of your feelings.
So I've seen another interview where Leslie's trying to explain things so they make better sense, and she goes, "Well, it's broken, and she's touching the crystal, and therefore she's making direct contact with it when it's not about." Well, no, I agree. You can see it there. You can see even veins in her hand.
It's a nice detail.
Image, but it's not a physical contact. It's a spiritual war that you wage against the crystal.
Yeah.
And I just think they just make her so crazy powerful here. And maybe you've got plans in the second season. For me, the other thing is, since when does with a broken hilt, when does a lightsaber even work anymore?
Yeah, why is
let alone not have the energy to shoot out the side and tear her hand to pieces?
I actually thought for a second that, and it's too bad that we can't get another look at the prop, Saul's prop lightsaber. You can see the chips out of the emitter, like the surface that's facing us, but it almost looks like the portal that the chunk of crystal sticking out almost looks intentional. Like, is that the thumb stud?
Could be.
I mean, they make a point of saying that she broke it when she threw it.
Yeah, they do.
Which is, they should make those out of cortosis, I guess, because it's kind of brittle. For me, this just was like, remember when we were joking earlier, somebody had said they put a nail in the coffin and then poured concrete over it.
Yeah.
This is the last rites for me.
Yeah.
This is the one that I go, I'm glad it's over.
Gaz says, yeah, but Soul was her master. Even though she failed at becoming a Jedi, she loved Soul like a father. Her trust in him was absolute. So this scene where she is force choking him is very powerful. Undeniably so. That hate for him caused her to become very powerful at that moment. I buy that. I do buy that. I just don't buy that the crystal bleeding as a your hate
It
your
bled on
hate
its
now.
own because she
Yeah,
wasn't trained to bleed it, and the
right.
other ones were.
Yeah, yeah. Like the conscious, like, I'm going to do this. I am consciously focusing, trying to make this thing happen. Now it just happens as a result of. I don't agree with that.
It was a cool visual though.
Undeniably, absolutely,
But
absolutely. Okay. Have we talked about bleeding Kyber enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. Standing over Osha, Chimere tries to touch her shoulder, but Osha leaps to her feet in a rage, brandishing Soul's lightsaber. Thrusting the blade at him, both Chimere and a bewildered Osha watch as the blade shifts from blue to red. So apparently it's still happening.
it's still
As a
fighting.
charge.
I guess.
It looks like a delicious rocket. Those popsicles.
Yeah. I thought, wow, they got a NeoPixel saber and they put it on randomize.
I've thought that about every fight they've had in this, because I don't know if you guys have ever used one on camera for fun, but there's a weird way that the when you swing them, the tip washes white.
Yeah.
And I see that in all the fights here, and I think honestly they're using combat sabers here.
They are.
And
They absolutely
animating
are
over
now.
them.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. They've all the new Star Wars has been doing that all the way back, even to the Mandalorian. They've used some short ones and then animated in the rest of the blade. But they are giving so that there's real light on the actors.
Mm-hmm.
They watch bewildered as the blade shifts from blue to red. May, still on the other side of the courtyard, looks on in awe. Pulling the blade back from Chimere, Osha stares intently at the crimson blade before looking at May with her glazed over look.
Now she just realized that she fulfilled her own future vision.
Yeah.
I just realized what would have made this work for me and not have such a problem with it.
Sure.
If her eyes turned at the same time.
Well, they don't. And on that note, Chimere's eyes are not Sith yellow.
No, I get that, but that would be like so we're trying to establish here she's more powerful than him.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Or so if she's completely fallen in this moment and has this spontaneous ability to do this innate Sith ability to bleed a crystal, I would buy it if they had her eyes turn here.
Yeah. No, I would too.
Like parallel to Anakin turning and showing you his eyes had fallen.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people on Twitter are like, if crystals bled like this, then his crystal would have bled while he was killing the younglings.
Yep. Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah, because look at how emotional he is in that scene. He's crying in that scene as it happens.
Oh man.
All right. In a clearing, several Jedi debark from Master Vernestra's ship. Vernestra herself is the last one to leave, and as she steps foot on the planet's surface, she reaches out with the Force, presumably trying to sense Master Soul. But the Force works in interesting ways, and when it comes to sensing people, historically, that sense has always been stronger between people who share a close bond. So unsurprisingly, Chimere snaps his head as he feels her probe, and he quickly dons his helmet to shield his mind. In the landing area, Vernestra gasps as her eyes snap open. You! Her brow furrows as she whispers, "You're alive." Checking her emotions, she addresses the cadre of Jedi Knights. "I know where they are," and she beckons everyone to follow her. As the Jedi move off, Basil comes trotting up to the ship, chittering in Tynan. Mog stops and he kneels down to greet him. Surprised, "Basil, you're okay." Back in the courtyard, May firmly tells her sister they need to leave. Osha, still staring at the crimson lightsaber, snaps out of it and she looks around for Chimere, but he's gone. Holding out her hand, May says, "Come with me." Osha deactivates the lightsaber, and when May tells her, "I know a way out," the girls run past Soul's dead body back inside the fortress. Gaz says, "I don't think that she's more powerful than the Sith dude, but that moment and that hatred for Soul created a moment at how powerful her potential is." Yep. Outside, the Jedi arrive at the fortress at the front gate. One of the knights tries the elevator controls, but nothing happens. So Master Vernestra uses the Force to do her thing and opens the door. Meanwhile, May and Osha run through the fortress back to the generator annex. Standing on the edge, looking down into the chasm, May tells Osha, "We have to climb down." Osha asks if she's sure. Then, locking eyes, May answers, "Trust me." Partway down the rock wall, they come to a tunnel and they drop inside. Green motion lights illuminate their path as May tells Osha that on the night the Jedi came and she fell from the catwalk, she was sucked into this tunnel. Of course, that's a nice callback to the events of The Empire Strikes Back.
Mhm.
We see that happen when Luke gets the foomp, literally into this tunnel. This is actually two different tunnels, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The Luke Skywalker thing, but I couldn't not include the lit tunnel as he's walking down.
He's just walking through
as he's got his hand up there, and it's like, oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
But that's the first tunnel before he gets blown out the window.
It's the early version of You've Got Mail. It's like a pneumatic.
Yeah. Covered the Luke Skywalker. Okay, so when the Jedi arrive in the courtyard, they all fan out around Master Vernestra. Seeing Sol's body lying there, she surveys the courtyard as echoes of the past ring in her head. The impressions seem almost intrusive for her as she gulps before ordering a pair of knights to search the building, while the rest of them are to set up a 5-click perimeter around the fortress. As Mog leaves to carry out his orders, Vernestra tells him to use Basil to track the girls. As everyone heads off to complete their tasks, the camera shifts to an overhead shot of the courtyard. It pulls back to the open footbridge where Chimere watches as Master Vernestra kneels over Saul's body and whispers something to him. Suddenly aware of something or someone watching her, Vernestra snaps her head up towards the bridge only to find it empty. Reaching the end of the tunnel, the twins hop out and find themselves in the forest outside of the fortress. Osha asks, "You did this when you were little?" And when May answers, "Yeah," she follows it up with, "Then what did you do?" And the two girls take off at a sprint, heading out into the forest. Meanwhile, a contingent of Jedi led by Mog use Osha's satchel to give Basil her scent, and the Tynan picks up the trail immediately and trots off with the Jedi close behind.
Apparently, a 5K perimeter is following the weasel in a single file.
Follow the beaver otter. Follow the beaver otter. May leads Osha to the Bunta tree, where she tells her that she sat here and waited. Osha apologizes for not believing her. In turn, May apologizes for setting the fire. The two girls emotionally collapse to the ground as May tries to comfort Osha, who is overcome with grief. Looking into each other's eyes, Osha begins, "You are with me, I am with you." With a smile, May asks, "Who taught us that rhyme?" Osha says that she thought May had made it up. Just then, Sol's lightsaber flies from Osha's belt. When the girls turn to look, Chimere stands there holding it with his arm outstretched. If I can find you, so can the Jedi. Speaking of the Jedi, they're hot on the heels of Basil, who chatters as he trots through the forest following his acute sense of smell. Back at the Bunta tree, Osha tells Chimere that together she and May will explain to the Jedi what Saul did. Chimere is surprised and he questions, "After everything, you put your faith in the Jedi?" Continuing, he says, "When they find out how powerful you are, May interjects, you'll meet the same fate as our mother." And with tears welling up in her eyes, Osha looks to May as she asks, "What do we do?" May asks her, "What do you want?" Turning to Chimere, Osha tells him that if he releases May from their agreement, she will take her place. May doesn't seem surprised by this, as maybe she should be, as she asks, "Are you sure?" Adding that the Jedi will use me to find you. The Jedi, meanwhile, are close as they break into a run. At the Bunta, Chimere and the twins can hear Basil off in the distance. Chimere tells Osha that he can attempt to wipe Osha's memory, permanently removing any trace of May and himself. With the Jedi nearly on top of them, May tells him, "Do it, quickly." Osha cries, "I can't lose you again." May says, "You aren't." That she's going to do what she was meant to do, and she won't try to stop her this time. Turning her attention back to Chimere, Osha offers him a handshake to seal their deal, but instead he gives back Sol's lightsaber. With tears in her eyes, she whispers for him to wait a moment before tightly embracing her sister. Osha openly weeps on her sister's shoulder. I will find you. May answers, I know you will. Then,
Why erase her memory then? Why don't I just go with her?
I don't know. Then the girls recite the second half of their duality poem. You are with me, I am with you, always one, born as two. May nods to Chimere, who raises his hand and he begins the memory wipe. Osha, still crying, tries to conclude the poem. As above sits the stars, May answers, and below lies the... Her voice trails off. A blank expression comes over her. Osha pulls back to look at her sister. I give you you. May tries to answer, and you give... But she can't recall the words. She tries again, but still the words don't come. Osha offers May a weak smile, and we cut to a wide shot of the three of them standing there under the bunta tree.
Why wouldn't she remember?
Because
like the poem predates Chimere.
Yeah, it does.
So
it does. That's the same thing. I like that they were to create a 5-click perimeter and they're all grouped together. Our footprints are creating the perimeter. We're just going to walk around.
Single file to hide their numbers.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Now, having reached the bunta tree, the Mog and the other Jedi fan out to find May there alone. The Jedi all reach for their weapons, and Mog orders her not to move. He instructs her, lay down any weapons you might have and surrender. Standing there with a glazed look, May raises her hands and asks, what did I do? The mind wipe thing. And I know this was brought up earlier. Gaz, it might have been you that said this, the whole Revan thing. I had said this a while ago when we were still kind of actively theorizing what was going on here. And I had this wild theory where the witches didn't actively create twins, that they created one person and the Force pushed back and made a second person, and that's why we have two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I theorized that they wiped one of their minds already in the same style as Revan, but I don't think that happened. But it's happening now.
Well, there was your other theory too, that the Jedi Council had mind wiped Osha.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I mean, if they intimated that they were going to use the Force to pull information out of that guy way back early on.
Yeah,
it's not beyond them to do stuff like that.
No.
Interesting though, in the game, the guy, the head of it's not the Jedi Council, it's the Jedi Quorum or something they call them. The head of that group, do you remember who the voice actor was?
Can't say I do.
It was Ed Asner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Ed Asner played a Jedi Master, wiped Revan's mind. Back on Coruscant, May, who is now in binders, is brought to Master Vernestra. She orders May's restraints to be removed before dismissing the guards and beckons the girl to sit. Vernestra asks May if she knows why she's here. May says that she's been told that she killed someone, but she can't remember it. Vernestra asks May what does she remember, and the girl recounts that there was a fire and it destroyed her home. Then there was a man that killed her mother, so she ran away. Now, there's also someone that she needs to tell, but May can't find her. Very specifically says her. Master Vernestra tells May that her last memory stems from when she was just 8 years old. She says the man who killed her mother was a Jedi and that he was her friend. As Vernestra continues, we flash back to Brendok, where she approaches Sol's dead body. He was a kind, brilliant, compassionate man, and he did a terrible thing. Vernestra kneels down beside Sol. Cut back to Coruscant, where Vernestra now stands before the Senate Tribunal that just happens to be chaired by Chancellor Drellick. Speaking to the tribunal, she tells them that 16 years ago, 4 Jedi were stationed on Brendok, where they discovered a Force cult of witches. She explains that a conflict erupted between them, and there were many casualties. Cut back to the courtyard on Brendok, where Vernestra caresses Sol's cheek. Her voice at the tribunal continues. Afterwards, the Jedi conspired to keep their actions secret. Recently, when the truth threatened to come out, cut back to the tribunal now, a rogue Jedi named Sol killed his accomplices to maintain the cover story. In the flashback, Vernestra leans down and she whispers, "I'm sorry, my friend." It would seem that her mind is made up, and Vernestra would rather tell her own lie to protect the institution that is the Jedi Order rather than tell the whole truth. Concluding with the tribunal, she says, speaking on behalf of the High Council, "We wholly condemn the actions of Master Soul." Senator Raincourt, standing next to the Chancellor, pipes up that in light of these events, he feels they cannot wait for a full Senate vote, and he insists on a full external review of the Jedi to commence immediately. Chatter erupts from the rest of the tribunal while Vernestra speaks up. "I can assure, while this is a terrible tragedy, it was the work of one flawed man." The Chancellor asks, "Where is Master Soul now?" Vernestra explains that he was found dead on Brendok at the scene of his original crime. Cut back to Brendok, where Soul's body is now burning atop a floating funeral pyre on a lake. On the shore stands Vernestra with a torch in hand. I believe he ended his own life. Back in the control room with May, Soul made a mistake. He lived with it for so long, it twisted his mind. She tells May that he justified his selfishness with the love that he had for her sister. Shocked, May blurts out, "My sister?" Turning to face May, Vernestra asks if the name Osha means anything to her. But May's expression is far off, and it's not certain if there's any recognition from her or not. What do you guys think?
There should be.
You would think that there would be, considering that they're the same person.
Yeah.
I actually feel like if we do get a second season, something like that's going to happen. Osha will do something that Osha will experience.
And she will spontaneously bleed her red crystal white when she
that's right, when she redeems. Yeah,
when
that's
she
right.
trips over it.
Oh, maybe. Sitting down across from May, Master Vernestra remarks how she's been through so much. She says the Jedi have failed you, but I'm going to make this right. But I need your help. When May asks with what, Vernestra tells her to find a former pupil of mine before he turned to evil. May blinks as she nods. How do you find somebody before they turn to evil?
I think it's just a poorly written line. I'm going to find the guy who was my pupil before he turned to evil.
Right, and that's where I was going with it. I actually think that this is a clever choice, a dialogue choice. It comes across clunky as all F, but when she says to help me find a pupil of mine before he turned to evil, it's almost like she's saying you're going to help me find him so I can redeem him.
Which could be.
Do you know what? Does it not sound like that to you guys?
I mean, if it is,
or she can finish the job
because finish the
she is a like douchebag Jedi. Like, so doesn't it feel to you like that she's just covering up her own complicitness? Like she's been privy to this for 16 years, so now she can officially throw her friend under the bus because he's dead, and there are no like repercussions to her. It just seems like so singularly self-serving.
There's the whole like you can lie to me, but you can't lie to yourself, and you have to live with yourself. And so like the ramifications for that should be felt if we get another season. Whether they will or not, who knows?
Well, when it was just Saul's lie, it was one thing, but now she knows
it wasn't even his lie. Let's recall that he was about to tell the truth.
He wanted to.
Was like, so
you're going to steal this girl's dream too.
So like he was coerced into lying for 16 years, and it caused him to it caused his death. Vernestra Rowe is a demon. Crazy, man, just crazy.
But the revelation that you're alive, suddenly she's now tied to the whole thing.
That's true.
In a brand new way.
That's true. I just thought that the line was suggesting or metaphorical for we're going to go and redeem this guy, or at least attempt.
Try. It's just a legacy line, right? They're just pigeonholing things in.
I guess, yeah. On Baldemnik, it's now low tide as Osha stands on the stone jetty holding Soul's lightsaber as the sun begins to set. Chimere joins her, and the two share a look. Then, taking a step closer to her, Chimere reaches down, placing his hand over Osha's, and the two stand there as the waves crash over the stones. And I had written in my talk about this point, I said, are we suggesting that there's a romantic link between the two now? I suppose on some level this relates to Chimere's line when he said, "Why do you love those that can never go as deep as you can?" But now, in light of that interview with Manny Jacinto, it's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of the
a little from column A, a little from column B.
I'm comforting you now.
Yeah.
Okay. And cut to black. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
There's more. All right. Cut to somewhere within the Jedi Temple. A set of double doors open, and Master Vernestra enters the room. She nods her head deeply as she steps inside the dimly lit room. "Sorry to disturb you, Master." Lifting her head, she continues, "We need to talk." The camera pans down, and we can see the back of Master Yoda's head. His ears perk up, and we iris to black.
Is it Yoda or is it Yaddle without a wig?
It's Yoda.
One, it's Yoda. Two, it's a puppet Yoda.
It is puppet Yoda.
So I
like the good one.
So there is no good one.
Last Jedi Yoda is not bad.
Did they use? Oh, I guess they did use a puppet for him.
They used the mold from Return of the Jedi in that one. So
I never even considered that, because my first thought was, don't tell me they resurrected the puppet from the
Phantom Menace puppet. Oh, that would,
because that's awful.
That's worse than lesbian space witches.
That was awful, that puppet. But certainly this is puppet Yoda. You're probably right, Hank. It probably is Last Jedi Yoda. But there he is in his office. She goes to tell him
something,
presumably.
Sorry?
Yeah, really. Here's what really happened.
Or the truth, which makes him complicit, which
right?
Would destroy everything. Like, oh my God.
And I feel like that is the big hang up here of maybe we don't get a second season, because as much as I said nothing in the show has broken canon, even the Giedi Mundi thing, this has the potential to do major damage.
Major damage.
Yeah.
Major damage. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm a little baffled by the ending, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. I also do think, in light of some of the earlier comments tonight, like from Joseph, like I do believe that there were extensive reshoots. I can see that. I don't believe that they did reshoots after it started airing.
That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah,
that's the time.
That's a lot.
Time doesn't necessarily line up to do that.
It's that the Simpsons joke. Our animators are. It's the new live episode. It's really hard on the animators' wrists.
Wow. Now that it's over, is there anything else to say about the show, I suppose, as a whole, that we haven't already said?
I just really hope the fandom can calm the frig down now. And just
Me too. Yeah.
Just chill out. Like, we've gotten things like death threats and people being fired from their positions at editors at Wiki. Like, this one has gotten out of hand, and I'm really glad. And if it's happened, I haven't heard about it, but I'm glad somebody didn't get hurt over this.
Yeah.
Because there's people doxing people and personally attacking people, and like, there's just no need for any of that. You can like it, you can not like it. You're like, what we do is look at things critically. So I'm going to be honest with our viewers and you guys. If I find something critically bad for constructive reasons, I will let you know. I want to be honest with everybody. And I think that's the discourse that we can have on any topic.
Of course.
It's part of the problem.
It should be. It should be.
When you can't have an uncomfortable conversation about race or sexuality or these things, which is the problem, because everybody instantly feels like their side is being attacked.
Yeah.
And until we figure that part out, we're not gonna get over these things. And it's just, the internet is like, if it's the good things about it that are the sum repository of human knowledge, and we can look up anything at any instant, there's also the fact that we can use it to hate things in the most vile way.
Oh, we can.
And man, glad it's over. Glad that's over. That's stuff.
Yes, I am absolutely
wake up,
glad
Google
that's
Star
over.
Wars news and hear about how much we hate each other.
The other outlets, the other YouTubers, their reviews have been out for days and stuff already. And the little bit that I've looked at, and I've only looked at a couple, but I really do. I've shouted them out before. I just want to throw props out to Eric Voss at New Rockstars for being so much of like on the same sort of outlook that we have. Like
Eckert's Ladder too.
We can just come together once a week. We can enjoy it for what it is. We can talk about it, and we don't all have to agree on it, and that's okay.
It even makes it better when we can have an intelligent discourse on something that we do. Like our viewership's been up. Like it's a controversial thing. If we can benefit from that, I guess it's okay. But
I think it's, and just to sort of segue into what's coming down the road, I think it's nice that we can transition from something that is ostensibly very serious to something that is maybe a little bit lighter in tone.
Right.
And I'm very excited. We started. We gave ourselves some homework last week after the show, after our post stream chat about what we're doing next, and we've intimated and hinted that we'd like to revisit some of the animated stuff. We have landed on Ewoks, the 1985 series. So homework this past week was, hey guys, start watching Ewoks again to get to revisit the Bright Tree Village. And so far, I think, Hank, you're the furthest along right now.
I'm in six or seven episodes in. Yeah,
I've got 2 under my belt right now. And
I got 3.
Yeah.
And holy hell, Endor is scary.
Scary place, right?
There's a lot of crazy creatures and sentient types on that planet.
Absolutely. And I mean,
I don't remember it being that dangerous towards the Ewoks.
Yeah,
in light of the new canon, you got to ask yourself questions about Force witches and
you really do.
Maybe Force sensitive Ewoks. Looking at you, Tebow, and things of that nature. We'll get into it though.
Artifacts or things like talking about vergences in the Force, and we know that the original Kyber crystal in Splinter of the Mind's Eye would be in the new canon would be considered a vergence. So does that mean the artifact that is shared between Morag and Logray is also a vergence in the Force?
I mean,
maybe.
They don't really explicitly tell us where this occurs in the timeline. It's not canon, but where it occurs in the timeline. So are we, when the Empire appears, is that them appearing to set up shop for Return of the Jedi?
I have a sneaking suspicion that I'll have to do some more reading, and we'll talk about it in greater detail. But I do think that the series predates the Empire's arrival.
I believe so,
because of that.
Wicket is still a child.
That final episode of the series. Well, sorry. Depending on when you watched it, if you watched Ewoks as part of the Droids Ewoks Hour in '85, the Sunstone episode is actually the second last episode. But a year later, when they ran the show by itself, they switched it and they made the Sunstone episode the series finale.
Right.
But anyway. That's kind of where we're going next. And how coincidental that you sent, was it today?
Yeah, it was today.
Today you sent over an article. Yeah. What?
Just announced it.
What's going on?
An Ewoks, basically the road to Return of the Jedi. So I haven't really been talking about this in the chat at all, but Vader and Star Wars both end their run at issue 50. So it's not an insurmountable a number of comics to read if you guys want to get caught up, but we're going to skip Return of the Jedi and utterly. We're going to take that as rote. And we're going post Return of the Jedi with the comics.
Oh, that's cool.
And so both Star Wars and I guess Vader's not going to have a title anymore.
It's just going to be
the flagship title will be post Return of the Jedi. So that's all uncharted ground.
That's stuff where we can tell new original stories.
Really cool. We spent 5-6 years of comics in between 50 issues. So in between Empire and Jedi, and we've established some really cool canon you guys should check out. I'm excited, and I guess Ewoks is our first official foray into that, which is like a road to the new era of Star Wars. It's a little mini-series, Ewok mini-series.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The article that you sent over today showed off some of the covers, or variant covers for, I think, with the first episode or first issue or first 4 issues, maybe.
That's right. Yep.
And one of them is an homage, indirectly back to the animated series. It riffs on the Kenner action figure.
Yeah, that was awesome. When you sent that, that
really
was great.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you guys want to come back and hang out with us again next Sunday, we will be back. We will have more Star Wars content for you as we start our journey into Ewoks, the animated series. hopefully it is what you remember. Maybe you've never watched it. Maybe you'll be watching it for the first time. If that's the case, I do recommend that you watch the first handful of episodes, because I'm not sure how deep we're going to get into it next week, but certainly we will be talking about at least the first couple anyway. I have some ideas about some things I want to do. So
Nice.
we'll get to that privately after this. Anybody got any more that they want to say before we sign off for the evening?
For the record,
Yeah.
glad it's over.
Here, here. Here, here. How about you, Andy? Anything?
I still think we need a season 2, but
I don't.
It needs to be handled.
Yes, absolutely.
Differently.
Absolutely. I won't roll my well, I might roll my eyes if they do announce a second season, but hopefully they even if they just put a better writers room together.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
again,
I don't want to say that about anybody that's doing professional things that I wish I was doing and I'm not. I've always been like sort of careful about again, nice. I've always been careful about that. Like this is people's art.
it is absolutely.
But I just have this level of expectation that may or may not be fair. And I found that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I also feel like they should probably put the editor in a bear trap. But other than that,
They could just, again, like I said it partway through our journey, like if they could just, and I know you've got to, like, pacing is already an issue in this stuff, but like conceptually, like I liked the concepts, I liked the ideas that they were toiling with, but you needed to slow it way down and take way more time.
well, that's the thing. I'm the last person that wants more episodes of this. But if you watched maybe 12 episodes before the flip,
sure,
we could build, and it's like that old joke. Squinting isn't an emotion, but like blinking isn't an emotion. Like just like the main character was so wooden. Like I just
well, that has been Fandom Power presents the Acolyte in Review. I hope you guys, at the very least, especially the folks who keep coming back week after week,
man,
and finding our videos in the replay. Thank you for finding our show. I hope you've enjoyed at least that part of the Acolyte.
Love it that people are heavily engaging in the comments. That's amazing.
Yeah,
so fun.
Very much enjoy the interaction that we get to have with you guys. There is nothing more fun and more satisfying than being able to engage with you guys, especially in real time. So
yeah,
I got through the whole episode without saying my ejaculate joke either.
You get one of those.
Put your surgation away.
Put your surgation. All right, everybody. This Tuesday, there's a bump in the schedule. I have a medical procedure that I have to go through, so there will be no. Well, I won't say there won't be one.
There might be.
We'll
see.
There may or may not be a random Fandom Tuesday. If there is, it will be without me, as I will be recovering from my procedure. But I will be back next Sunday. We will be back next Sunday with our first of I don't know how many installments of Ewoks. Hopefully we'll have a clever title for it too.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be us if we
Jam
didn't
on
have
that.
something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Acolyte kind of stalled us, so I don't know. Anyway, I've got nothing else, guys.
That's me.
All right, everybody. Remember, whatever your thing is, a fan on, and for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
And we will see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.